Hey, so technically it's past midnight, but I want to make this video about St. George's Day here in England. First and foremost, I want to say I hope all my English viewers have had a happy St. George's Day. They've had been to the pub, they have been with family and friends, or they've done whatever they wanted to do to enjoy the day. Um, and it is a coincidence this year that it actually falls on the 400th anniversary of the death of William Shakespeare. Although we just point out briefly that we cannot be exact about that because changes in the Julian calendar in the mid 18th century meant that days going back further than that are not exact 365 calendar days. So, but it's around about this time anyway when he passed away in 1616. Shakespeare needs no introduction, one of the greatest writers in human history, enormously influential figure, who arguably single handedly helped create modern English. Um, and since it's the occasion, I wasn't actually planning to do this, but I thought I may as well. Check this out. This is a Bible, a St. James's Bible, dating from the year 1637. And no, go be quite careful with this because it's so old. Um, It's in my father's collection. I'm sure he won't mind me showing this. But I'm just going to hold up a page. This page was already loose, so I'm not vandalizing this. Holding it very carefully. If I could just make out there the year. If you look at the bottom, 1637. That is astonishing that we have possession of a book that's almost 400 years old. I don't know how my father got into possession of this, but it's quite incredible. Anyway, the reason I'm showing that the writing in this is more or less modern English. I mean, that's not to say it's the way we speak today, but it is basically forming the origins of modern English. So that was printed during the reign of King Charles I, and it is incredible to think that predates the English Civil War. To me, that's just astonishing, and I would imagine it's worth something. So I think we're going to really have to look after that. Anyway, I want to speak a bit about St. George's Day because there's been a lot of talk about this year and in previous years. A bit of background: St. George was a third century Roman figure, military figure, mercenary, as far as I know, who was active in what is now Syria, was then known as Syria Palestina. And the legend of St. George and the Dragon is actually found in modern day Lebanon, in Beirut, where the event supposedly took place. St. George is not only the patron saint of England, but also the patron saint of Malta and Gozo, Portugal, and I think Romania as well. So St. George is considered one of the most influential patron figures in the whole of Christianity. And I suspect it was around the time Constantine brought Christianity to Britain, or at least helped to bring it to Britain, that St. George started to become iconized here. How he in particular became the patron saint of England, I'm not 100% sure, and I haven't had time to research this. I do want to talk a little about the public perceptions of this because there is a lot of attitudes out there that I really feel I want to discuss a little bit. The overwhelming or a overwhelming consensus on a lot of especially right wing sources, especially right wing tabloid newspapers, tends to be along the lines of basically bitter resentment. Like it goes along these lines. The Irish, both sides of the border, have St. Patrick's Day. The Scots have St. Andrew's Day. The Welsh have St. David's Day. But us poor English are not allowed to celebrate St. George's Day. Um, I'm going to say something here which might offend a few people, but frankly, I don't really care. Get over yourselves. There's a few things that are just being totally misconstrued here. And I think where this all comes from is the fact that a few years ago, a few councils that were being a bit reckless and overbearing did decide to basically downplay St. George's Day and I think there may have been one or two examples of it being banned for diverse reasons and so on, which of course is nonsense. But the point was that was quite a while back now, and it was one or two councils. Now, when I listen to hardline English nationalists, all I hear is a victimhood mentality about how the whole world is out to get them, the wicked, terrible EU and the rest of Britain and the Muslims and the immigrants. And it's just this very petty mind, in my opinion. England is a great country. England needs to be elevated beyond that, beyond this pettiness. No one has banned St. George's Day. St. George's Day is not banned. So let's just dispel that myth once and for all. St. George's Day is not banned. Should it be a public holiday? I think it probably should. Um, I don't know if it is or not. I'm not in regular work, so it doesn't make any difference to me either way. But um, should it be a public holiday? I think it should, absolutely. Um, but I really, to be honest, I get quite annoyed with some of the. I don't like victimhood mentalities in general, and this is one area where I am critiquing a right wing victimhood mentality because very often my critique of victimhood mentalities, so to speak, are people who are more on the left. But on this issue, I believe it's some English nationalists who are being a lot more basically wallowing in a victimhood mentality. St. George's Day is not banned. And contrary to not being celebrated, today Google had a very colourful image. I think it was one of their best creations so far. Actually, it was looking all about the theme of Shakespeare, but also had a St. George and the Dragon in that artwork. So they're marking it. And all across England, you can find examples of cultural events that have been going on both this year and in previous years. Not long ago, I was in Bristol, and they had a whole reenactment in the street of St. George and the Dragon. And you know what? I'm completely for that. I think it's great. It's a cultural aspect that England and English people can value and celebrate. But I frankly think there is a lot of paranoia out there about this fact that, or the perception, not the fact, the perception that St. George's Day has been banned. It simply hasn't. That is something that has been basically thrown around social media like it's true, and it just isn't. Um, Not long ago, David Cameron was under attack because people were saying, "Oh, he's speaking out about the Sikh festival, Faisaki, I think that was," and predictably, everyone was like, "Oh, what about us English? What about St George's Day? Blah blah blah." Well, I've just watched a video in which the Prime Minister is doing precisely that, wishing a happy St George's Day. He did actually acknowledge that for his view, it has been overlooked, but he's the most powerful man in the country. He's an Englishman, and he's just wished his compatriots a happy St. George's Day. So I get quite tired, frankly, of the victimhood mentality so many English nationals seem to have. I know there are issues out there, for example, on other political issues like the West Lothian question, and I understand there's valid debates to be had about that. But I'm getting a little bit tired of this, frankly, little Englander mindset. England deserves better than that. England is part of the United Kingdom, but it's a very, very central part of the United Kingdom. England's a great place. I love England. I'm not English myself, but I love England. The United Kingdom would not be the UK without England. So, yes, England should be valued. But to me, if you truly are a patriotic Englishman, then you would rise above this nonsense and not care so much. Because so much of it is blatantly not true. That's what annoys me because there's so many people that are just believing everything they read based on a few gutter rags and irresponsible journalism a few years ago. I know there were a few left wing councils who took stupid, politically correct decisions, but the point is, it wasn't a nationwide decision. It wasn't a government policy. So, seriously, get over yourselves and just stop. And by the way, I'm not referring to all English viewers, I'm just talking about those who have the sort of mentality I'm talking about because it's nonsense. And incidentally, St. David's Day and St. Andrew's Day, I don't think there's that much done about them. I think it's probably comparable to St. George's Day. St. Patrick's Day is the most celebrated, that's true. But one reason for that is because of the Irish diaspora around the world. So, of course, you're going to get the Irish community in New York City or Sydney or other major cities celebrating that. And so what? Why shouldn't they? So, my point is if you're English and you want to celebrate St. George's Day, go ahead, have a great time. If there are genuine examples of, for example, people putting up English flags and being reprimanded by council officials, that is obviously wrong. And I don't mind, I have no problem with them being pissed off about that. But I think genuine examples of that are hugely exaggerated. And that's what annoys me about this. I'm going to finish on a point I really strongly believe in, and it is directly related to this. Um, well, actually, there's another point I want to raise, so please bear with me because it's all relevant. What we really, really need in this country, and by this country I'm talking about the wider United Kingdom, is a single British National Day. That's something that we don't have. And that is something that has to be much more of an issue than it currently is. Now, to be fair to him, when Gordon Brown was Prime Minister, he did actually try to get a debate started on this and try to get that elevated into something, and it never transpired. We still don't have a single national day. We're the only country in the world that I can think of that doesn't actually have a single national day. The French have Bastille Day. Our American friends have the 4th of July. Um, Most other countries in China, it's the 1st of October. The United Kingdom doesn't have a single national day. Now, the constituent nations, with both parts of Ireland, it's St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March. Um, yeah, I know that the Republic of Ireland's an independent country, but both sides celebrate St. Patrick's Day. With England, it is the 23rd of April, and yes, it is celebrated, as I've just been trying to clarify. St. David's Day, I believe, is the 1st of March, and St. Andrew's Day, the 23rd of November, unless I'm mistaken. So the point I'm making is all four home nations have a national day. The United Kingdom does not. Why not? That's crazy to me. I really think if we have a single national day, and I have several propositions for what date that could be. It could be the date of the Act of Union 1707, when we basically formed as a nation, or it could be the 23rd, excuse me, the 19th of September, Scottish Referendum Day, when the people of Scotland chose to stay together as one United Kingdom. Now, I appreciate that would be controversial with Scottish nationalists, but they had their say, they had their voice, and the people decided. And the SNP leaders at the time said that is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I really believe it is time that we have a single national British day. Another possible day could be the Battle of Britain anniversary. It was the Battle of Britain, you know. So there's many dates that could be viable. Um, I think that is absolutely essential if we are to have a sense of British identity in the future. I really, really think that there should be a campaign to have a British National Day. And I'm going to raise one more issue that again relates to this. President Obama's been on a state visit to the UK, and there has been a lot of critique about some of the things that have come out of that. He paid a tribute to the singer Prince, who of course has passed away. I'm not going to speak at great length about that simply because I, excuse me, I didn't follow Prince enough to say so much. I do know that he was a very, very successful artist and he had millions of followers around the world, so it's big news. Um, but the main critique of President Obama in the UK was that he's interfering in this debate that we're having about the EU. Now, what the Brexit people are saying is that the president's being hypocritical because if a British politician was to have their view on something that impacted the United States, then Obama would be very defensive and nationalistic. That's conjecture, actually. There isn't really, there's no set example to really show that. I think the Brexit people are being a bit, frankly, they're overreacting to this. Look, I've watched President Obama's speech, and he was not telling us how to vote. He was not telling us what to do. He was merely sharing his opinion. And I fundamentally agree with what he said. When countries have a close relationship, honesty is very important. All he was doing was sharing his opinion. That's it. And as he said, the Brexit campaign have been making a lot of speculation about what America would or wouldn't do. Therefore, surely it's only fair he can have some sort of response to that, because it also impacts his country in that sense. So, I think the Brexit people are totally overreacting to this. Obama is not interfering in our politics. He's simply voicing an opinion. He's not telling anyone how to vote. He's not saying, I'm going to punish Britain if you don't do this. I think he's simply laying out his position as President of the United States as to how he understands it. And, we are not North Korea. Why shouldn't outsiders be allowed an opinion? That's all it is. I've made many, many videos talking about other countries. So that's why I'm taking this position, because I don't have any problems with another head of state or another person talking about an issue they feel about in the UK. If I disagree with them, I will say so. But yeah, I think that the Brexit side is completely overreacted to this. And some aspects of their campaign is putting me off their argument. I'm still somewhat undecided about this EU thing. That's why I haven't made any video about it. But the attitude that they're taking, I think they need to frankly grow up, because they're totally overreacting to this. So yeah, if I can sum up the theme of this video, it's about people who seem to have, in many ways, a little England or a little Britain mindset. It's we are a great, great country, and we need to stop being so offended and insecure just because outsiders have an opinion, or because of perceptions that don't exist. St. George's Day is not banned. Can we just dispel that lie once and for all? It is not banned. And, you know, um, that's all I'm saying. If you're English, um, please don't take that as a personal slight. I hope you've had a great day. And I am completely in support of St. George's Day being celebrated. I just don't agree with the paranoia that is out there that it's somehow been banned or it's forbidden, or it's nonsense. So thank you for watching, and haven't said much about Shakespeare because I feel pretty much at the moment there's nothing I can add to it. There's so much already said about Shakespeare. Massively influential figure, except I would like to become much more familiar with his works. I almost feel ashamed that I'm British and I love history and culture, and yet I'm not, I can't quote Shakespeare lines and so on. I almost feel like I should be able to do that. There you go. Thank you for watching, and leave me respectful feedback. Cheers.